Good morning, students. First and foremost, I would like to appreciate you all for your very good performance in the test. Well done, children. Likewise, you'll attempt the next test also. But some students fail to appear in the test. I don't know why, but I hope they'll all write the test next time. Today I am here with the first lesson of Moments, the supplementary reader, and the lesson is The Lost Child, written by Mulk Raj Anand. In this lesson, you are going to know how the child is lost, in what circumstances he is lost, and what happened to him in the end. It's a very interesting story. It's a story of a small child who is very innocent and who is going to visit a fair in the village with his parents. So let us see the theme of the story. This short story reflects on a child's curiosity and desire. The child, after visiting the village fair, wishes to grab all the displayed things, especially the glittering toys and mouth-watering sweets. This is so genuine and universal. In short, the lost child tells about the aspiration, demands, and realization of a child. How the curiosity and desire of the child is very well explained and very well can be seen in this chapter. What is the enthusiasm of a little child who visits the village fair? You know, village fair is the only source of entertainment for the people long ago. There were no other sources of entertainment. So, we'll all see how the child behaved with his parents and what is the reaction of his parents. And after reading the chapter, you'll come to know, which is already mentioned here, the message. What is the value of the parents? Parents are precious. We realize that the whole world is upside down if parents are not there. So, we should value our parents. You all know the importance of your parents. How important their life is for all of us. So, we should respect them, we should value them, we should listen to them. This is the message of this story. Let us come to know about the poet. Mulk Raj Anand was an Indian English writer. His works attempted to capture the social realities of British India. Anand is admired for his novels, short stories, and critical essays depicting realistic poor in India. His popular novels are Untouchable, Coolie, Across the Black Waters, etc. You should know about Indian English poets and writers and some of their great compositions. Mulk Raj Anand was one of them. You try to read his book Untouchable. It's marvelous. Now I am going to the book. Hence the text. Let us see. The Lost Child. How the story begins. You see. A child goes to a fair with his parents, which is already told to you. He is very happy and excited and wants the sweets and toys displayed there. But his parents don't buy them for him. Why then does he refuse when someone else offers them to him. So when he goes to the fair, what happened? What was the time? It was the festival of spring. From the wintry shades of narrow lanes and alleys emerged a gaily clad humanity. Some walked, some rode on horses, others sat, being carried in bamboo and bullock carts. So it was the festival of spring, and in that festival there was a village fair. In this first paragraph, there is the explanation of the people who were thronging towards the fair. How were they going? Some were riding on the horses, some were being carried in bamboo and bullock carts. But this little child ran between his father's legs, brimming over with life and laughter. This little child was going with his father. He was in a mood of very happy, he was in a mood of happiness. He was enjoying his walk. He was very much happy, brimming over with life and laughter. He was very happy, very excited, very curious. And he was accompanying with his parents. He was accompanied by his parents. See the dialogue. Come, child, come, called his parents, as he lagged behind, fascinated by the toys in the shops that lined the way. His parents called him, "You come here, child," because he was lagging behind. He could not match with the footsteps of his parents. And the other reason was he was just stuck behind in order to see those displayed toys, beautiful toys, glittering toys, which really attracted him. That's why he was lagging behind. He hurried towards his parents, his feet obedient to their call, his eyes still lingering on the receding toys. As he came to where they had stopped to wait for him, he could not suppress the desire of his heart, even though he well knew the old, cold stare of refusal in their eyes. He was really a very obedient child. As soon as he was called by his parents, he came. But his eyes were still lingering on the receding toys, the toys which he had seen behind, and he wanted to buy them. He looked at his father, but he saw the refusal in his eyes. Means he understood that his father was not going to buy anything for him. He did not say anything. "I want that toy." With a courage, he mustered courage and said, "I want that toy." He pleaded, he requested. His father looked at him red-eyed in his familiar tyrant's way. His father was angry, and he looked at him angrily. His mother, melted by the free spirit of the day, was tender, and giving him her finger to hold, said, "Look, child, what is before you?" When father had an angry look, mother patted him. She called and she diverted his attention towards something else. And what was that? That was the mustard field, looking like melting gold. So mother diverted his attention towards nature, and the child was very innocent. He immediately changed his mind and he started listening to his mother. He looked at that mustard field, and what did he find there? A group of dragonflies were bustling about on their gaudy purple wings. intercepting the flight of a lone black bee or butterfly in search of sweetness from the flowers. He found there a group of dragonflies. They were they were bustling about on their shining purple wings, and they were disturbing a lone black bee or butterfly. The child followed them in the air with his gaze, till one of them would still its wings and rest, and he would try to catch it. The child was waiting for the butterfly to sit somewhere and he should catch it, but it would go fluttering, flapping up into the air when he had almost caught it in his hands. He almost caught the butterfly, but the butterfly flapped and flew away. Then his mother gave a cautionary call. Come, child, come on to the footpath. Since they had to visit the fair, they called the child again onto the footpath. The child was very obedient. So he ran towards his parents gaily and walked abreast of them for a while. So he walked, he listened to them, he followed them, being, however, soon left behind, attracted by the little insects and worms along the footpath that were teeming out from their hiding places to enjoy the sunshine. So the child ran towards his parents happily, excitedly, and he went ahead of them. Why? Because he found, but soon he left behind. First of all, he went ahead of them, but soon he went left behind because he was attracted by the little insects and worms along the footpath. He saw insects and worms. They were coming out together from their hiding places. Come, child, come, his parents called from the shade of a grove where they had seated themselves on the edge of a well. He ran towards them. Again he was called by his parents. From where? From the shade of a grove. And they were all seated on the edge of a well. The child again went towards them. A shower of So the child was following their parents as he was called. Okay. So he went to them. He hurried towards his parents, his feet obedient to their call. And then what happened to him? What did he find there? You see, a shower of young flowers fell upon the child as he entered the grove. A very amazing feeling. What was that? A shower of young flowers means petals started pouring on him as soon as he entered the grove. And forgetting his parents, he began to gather the raining petals in his hands. He started gathering those petals. But lo, he heard the cooing of doves and ran towards his parents, shouting, "The dove, the dove!" The raining petals dropped from his forgotten hands. While collecting the petals, he heard the cooing doves and he wanted to move towards them. In doing so, The petals dropped from his hands and he lost them. Come, child, come, they called to the child, who had now gone running in wild capers round the banyan tree, and gathering him up, they took the narrow, winding footpath which led to the fair through the mustard fields. Again he was called by his parents, and this time they were round the banyan tree. And after that, they gathered him up, taking the narrow, winding footpath, and they again went through the mustard fields. And where they reached, as they neared the village, the child could see many other footpaths full of throngs converging to the whirlpool of the fair, and felt at once repelled and fascinated by the confusion of the world he was entering. This line is very important. As they neared the village, the child could see many other footpaths full of throngs converging to the whirlpool of the fair, and felt at once repelled and fascinated by the confusion of the world he was entering. So, as they neared the village, they were very close to the village. He saw many footpaths and full of crowd. It appeared as if the whole crowd was appearing like a whirlpool of people, and they were all repelled and very much fascinated by the confusion of the world he was entering. He thought, what kind of a world was that? There were so many people, and he was very much fascinated to see that scene. What did he find there? A sweetmeat seller hogged gulab jamun, rasgulla, barfi, jalebi at the corner of the entrance, and the crowd pressed round his counter at the foot of an architecture of many colored sweets decorated with leaves of silver and gold. He saw a sweetmeat seller, a seller who was hawking, or you can say a hawker, selling sweets, and he was calling the name of the sweets: gulab jamun, rasgulla, barfi. The child stared open-eyed and his mouth watered for the barfi. That was his favorite sweet. I want that barfi. I want that barfi. He slowly murmured. He was fond of barfi. So he said, I want that barfi. But he half knew as he begged that his plea would not be heeded, because his parents would say he was greedy. So without waiting for an answer, he moved on. He wanted to have barfi. It was his earnest desire. He was very fond of that. But the same moment he knew that his parents would call him a greedy boy. So without waiting for an answer, he went ahead. And as he went ahead, what did he find? Next he saw a flower seller. A flower seller hawked a garland of gulmohar, a garland of gulmohar. The child seemed irresistibly. He went towards the basket where the flowers lay heaped and half murmured. So he was now attracted by that flower seller who was selling a garland of gulmohar. I want that garland, But he well knew his parents would refuse to buy him those flowers because they would say that they were cheap. So without waiting for an answer, he moved on. He knew that his parents would not buy for him with the reason that they were so cheap. So he knew the reasons of refusal, and in this way he did not ask for that, and he went ahead. A man stood holding a pole with yellow, red, green and purple balloons flying from it. The child was simply carried away by the rainbow glory of their silken colors, and he was filled with an overwhelming desire to possess them all. Now he came across a balloon seller. There were various colors of balloons. He was so much happy to see that he wanted to possess some of them, but he well knew his parents would never buy him the balloons because they would say he was too old to play with such toys. The next reason also he was knowing that his parents would tell him that he was not fit for playing with balloons. He was not so small. So he again walked on farther. Another scene was of a snake charmer. A snake charmer stood playing a flute to a snake which coiled itself in a basket, its head raised in a graceful bend like the neck of a swan, while the music stole into its invisible ears like the gentle rippling of an invisible waterfall. Now he stood in front of a snake charmer who was playing a flute to a snake which coiled itself in a basket. And on the tune of that music, the snake raised its head in a very graceful manner, just like the neck of a swan. Just like the neck of a swan. And the music was very wonderful. This music was gently rippling of an invisible waterfall. The music was matching with the music of a waterfall. So the child went towards the snake charmer, but knowing his parents had forbidden him to hear such coarse music as the snake charmer played, he proceeded farther. He stood there for a while, but he did not stay for a long time. He went ahead because he knew that his parents would say that the music was not so melodious. So he went ahead. There was a roundabout in full swing. Men, women, and children, carried away in a whirling motion, shrieked and cried with dizzy laughter. Now he came to a roundabout, which was thronged, very much thronged, which was crowded with men, women, and children, and they were all moving in a whirling motion. They were crying, they were shrieking, they were laughing. So there was too much chaos and you can say happiness. The scene was really wonderful. The child watched them intently and then he made a bold request. He looked at them interestingly, and after that he had a bold request with his parents. Now what he says here, let us see this. What he says, this is also very important. I want to go on the roundabout, father, mother. I want to go on the roundabout, please, father, mother. Now he spoke with a request. I want to go on the roundabout. He wanted to have the ride over there. And There was no reply. There was no reply this time. He turned to look at his parents. They were not there ahead of him. He turned to look on either side. They were not there. He looked behind. There was no sign of them. This was very astonishing for the child. He made a request for the first time to have something, and there was nobody to help him. His parents were not there. He did not have any reply. He looked back, but there was no sign of his parents. The child became very disappointed. He was in utter sad condition. A full deep cry rose within his dry throat, and with a sudden jerk of his body, he ran from where he stood, started crying. His throat dried up. There was a sudden jerk in his body. He stood, crying in real fear. Mother, father! Tears rolled down from his eyes, hot and fierce. His flushed face was convulsed with fear. His face was convulsing, trembling with fear. Panic-stricken, he ran to one side first, then to the other, hither and thither, means here and there, in all directions, knowing not where to go. Mother, father, he wailed. He was wailing, he was crying. He felt he was nowhere. Whom to take help? He was very upset, running here and there. He was very panic-stricken. His yellow turban came untied and his clothes became muddy. In search of his parents, his condition was very bad. He was not a position to take care of himself. He had no control on himself because he was a very small child. He was crying, panic-stricken. His yellow turban untied and his clothes became muddy. Having run to and fro in a rage of running for a while, he stood defeated, his cries suppressed into sobs. After much effort, he was unable to find his parents, and now his hard cry suppressed into sobs. He started sobbing. At little distances, on the green grass, he could see, through his filmy eyes, men and women talking. After some time, he could see some men and women talking. He tried to look intently among the patches of bright yellow clothes, but there was no sign of his father and mother among these people. He started finding his parents in the crowd, but there was nobody. His parents were not there, who seemed to laugh and talk just for the sake of laughing and talking. He ran quickly again, this time to a shrine to which people seemed to be crowding. Now he ran and came to a shrine. Shrine means a place of worship near a temple. It was also a crowded place. Every little inch of space here was congested with men, but he ran through people's legs, his little sob lingering. Mother, father. He was effortlessly trying to find his parents. He came to that temple, which was very much crowded. He ran through people's legs with a shout, Mother, Father. Near the entrance to the temple, however, the crowd became very thick. Men jostled each other. When he came very close to the temple, there The crowd was very dense, and men were jostling each other. Heavy men with flashing, murderous eyes and hefty shoulders. Very fat men. They were flashing, looking very dangerous because of their hefty shoulders. The poor child struggled to thrust away between their feet, but knocked to and fro by their brutal movements. He was unable to squeeze himself out of those hefty people. Still he tried. He might have been trampled underfoot had he not shrieked at the highest pitch of his voice. Father, mother! Somehow he came out from that brutal movements of those hefty people with a shriek. If he had not shrieked at the highest pitch of his voice, he would not have come out from that crowd. Somehow he came out of that crowd, and there a man in a surging crowd heard his cry and, stooping with great difficulty, lifted him up in his arms. Listening or hearing to such a wailing request, wailing shout, one of the persons came out of that crowd with a very great difficulty, and he lifted him up in his arms. He asked, "How did you get here, child? Whose baby are you?" The man asked as he steered clear of the mass. He took the child out of the crowd, and there he asked him, "Whose baby are you? And how did you get here?" The child wept more bitterly than ever now and only cried, "I want my mother, I want my father." The child was crying and crying, and he was crying loudly this time. He said that he wanted his parents only. The man tried to soothe him by taking him to the roundabout. Now he was taken to the roundabout, to that ride, and there that stranger asked him, "Will you have a ride on the horse?" He gently asked as he approached the ring. He asked, "Will you have a ride on the horse?" The child's throat tore into 1,000 shrill sobs, and he only shouted, "I want my mother, I want my father." The child now had no desire to have that ride. What he said instead? "I want my mother, I want my father." He wanted his mother, he wanted his father, he wanted nothing else. So this is the desire of the child here, when he was very much comforted by the stranger. When the stranger asked him to have the ride, he did not want to have the ride because he lost his parents. At that moment of time, his parents are important, or his parents were important. The man headed towards the place where the snake charmer still played on the flute to the swaying cobra. "Listen to that nice music, child," he pleaded. But the child shut his ears with his fingers and shouted his double-pitched strain, "I want my mother, I want my father." The child did not like anything now. He was brought to the snake charmer, where the tune was still going on, where the flute was continuing. He did not want that. But the child shut his ears with his fingers and shouted his double-pitched strain, "I want my mother, I want my father." The man took him near the balloons thinking the bright colors of the balloons would distract the child's attention and pointed him. Would you like a rainbow colored balloon? He persuasively asked. Now he was brought to the balloon seller and he was asked to have the balloons. What is the answer of the child? Let us see. The child turned his eyes from the flying balloons and just sobbed, I want my mother, I want my father. He had the only desire now to have his parents. The man, still trying to make the child happy, bore him to the gate where the flower seller sat. Look, can you smell those nice flowers, child? Would you like a garland to put round your neck? He was brought to the flower seller and he was asked to have the garland. The child turned his nose away from the basket and reiterated his sob, I want my mother, I want my father. He did not want anything now. He wanted only his parents. This was his desire. Thinking to humor his disconsolate charge by a gift of sweets, the man took him to the counter of the sweet shop. What sweets would you like, child? He asked. The child turned his face from the sweet shop and only sobbed, I want my mother, I want my father. He was brought to the sweet shop. He was asked to have some sweets. The child denied. He just wanted his parents. He did not like to have anything. Now his curiosity to grab those glittering toys, to have those sweets, to enjoy the ride were all vanished, were all gone. He did not like anything now. He wanted his parents back. He wanted his parents back. So here he realized the importance of his parents. In the beginning, the child was very much desirous to own the toys, sweets and enjoy the rides. Even if his parents were not willing to do so. His parents were not asking him to go for. The child did not like their refusal. He wanted to have them, but as soon as he lost his parents, he understood the value of his parents. So this is very important, children. Parents are precious. We should obey them. We should respect them. We should value them and we should listen to them. Because parents cannot be replaced. Parents cannot be bought, and once we lose our parents, we will be nowhere. We cannot get them back. So we should understand the value of our parents. We should listen to them. We should obey them. So this is the message of the story. You read it again and again. Just go through the new words and try to write their meanings in your notebook. This is the homework for this class. Okay. Thank you.